Essen? I don't have much time.
Tells you how much time it's no, it's a recorder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? You smell it that far?
No, I like the ones that are like.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechal kohen v'dvarim.
How are you doing today, Rabbi?
So? Oimer. L'chaim, everybody. L'chaim. Chaim rum. Big rum. Mashke.
Wow. Mashke le rum.
I thought these are the low ones.
That's right, sure.
Had a very nice fire last night.
Mm-hmm, I heard. Thank The mashke is bitter, and you drink it l'chaim, that proves that you really mean it. Otherwise, if it's sweet and pleasant, you're enjoying the drink.
That's a good point. Now I get it. something good, you know. Sweet.
It's related in the Zohar that the Rebbe mentioned it many times. That one time there was a drought. Everybody knows what drought is?
No.
There was no rain.
Batzoret.
Batzoret.
Drought.
Batzoret is something else. Batzoret is when the produce doesn't grow. But there was no rain bichlal. Can't grow when there's no rain. So they came to the Rashbi. The Rashbi came out and he sat down and he said a Torah. He said an explanation on the Pasuk, Hinei Matu V'Manoim Sheva Sachim Gam Yochad. It's the Pasuk in Tehillim. Hinei Matu V'Manoim, behold, how good and pleasant it is, Sheva Sachim Gam Yochad, when brothers sit together. Which means when brothers are friends. After he finished the Torah, the rain started coming down. So, this inyan that the Rashbi was able to bring down rain by saying a Torah, this is something which is unique for the Rashbi. See, this talks about it and so forth. Usually, this is through Tefillah. Rashbi was able to bring it down through Torah. But the principle of Hinei Mati V'Manoim Shevasachim Gam Yochad, this is clearly a teaching of the Rashbi. There is friendship, a Torah friendship, a holy friendship, and there is lahavdil, a friendship in the world. People make all kinds of groups. As a matter of fact, in Tanakh, a rebellious group is called Layechaver. They made a chavrusa. They got together. That's called a chavrusa. They rebel against the king. That's called a chavrusa. But that's a chavrusa, what's called an unholy chavrusa. It's a negative. There is a negative chavrusa, where you have a chavrusa, you join together, but each one is interested for himself. He gets a benefit of the assistance of the others. Just to give an example, in recent history, the communist revolution, all the communists, they had a certain code of rules, and they used to call each other comrade. You may have heard comrade. This was their title for each other. Comrade means friend, you know. And as soon as the revolution was over, they started shooting each other. They killed each other out. So this was all a camaraderie which was all didn't have the significant, the meaning of Hinei Mati V'Anoim Shevasachim Gam Yochad. Then there is a completely different type of friendship, of brotherhood, and that is a true brotherhood represented through Torah. And what is in fact the difference? So Chassidus explains that Yidden, what?
Can I switch a chair with you?
Oh, okay. My it speaks. We have a mitzvah, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. Everybody knows what that means. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. So Chassidus explains, Alter Rebbe explains, and then afterwards, more elaborate, what is the principle, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamecha? How can you love someone else like yourself? You're always closer to yourself. So the Alter Rebbe explains that after that a person grows up and he recognizes that the most important part by him is not his body, not his stomach. The most important part by him is his nefesh, his neshama. When he starts looking from the perspective of the neshama, then he can join very easily with another Yid. Because he sees that his neshama can relate easily, can join easily with the other person, with the other neshama. And he explains even more, because in fact all neshamas come from the same source. And really they are brothers, they are related, very closely related. So again, the union of neshamas, for this we have to learn and think, but the principle that the Torah says, the Torah is telling us that we have to understand that indeed we have a real unity, not a unity that we concoct, that we make for personal benefit, for personal interest, but a unity that is real, that is there inherently. Inherently means even before we know it, it's there. The Baal Shem Tov said that a Yid that you never heard of, you don't know, he lives on the other side of the world. You know nothing about him. You have to love him just like your own brother. And the Rebbe had demonstrated this multiple times, where he would send a shliach to a country, to a place which is really completely devoid of Yidden, devoid of Jews. There's one Yid, one little kid. And the Rebbe sent somebody there, unbeknownst to him, and somehow he got him out of his pit. Why? Because in fact, all Yidden are one. This Inyan, he said that the Rashbi said that Torah on this principle and was able to bring down rain for all Yidden. This Inyan is a mitzvah from the Torah. But we here, because I always want to explain, we come from such a dried out, lifeless world, where we learn to think, and we actually believe that we are in the cold. We are alone. We have to make things alone, and that's a fallacy. This Inyan, that every Yid is part of the entire Jewish nation and is related to every other Yid. This is both an obligation. It's an obligation. It puts an obligation on him that he has to consider every other Yid. But on the other hand, this is a tremendous source of strength. It's a tremendous source of strength. Just as on the smaller scale, when a person has a family, has a brother, a sister, a father, a mother, whatever their relationship, and then he comes to a nisayon, he comes to a situation where, let's put it in a very simple terms, he's committing a crime. Police is after him. Police are catching him. He pilfered. He stole something from the department store, and he's embarrassed. If he's alone, then nobody cares. So he goes through it and goes right. But then he thinks to himself, but how is my father going to take it? How is my brother going to take it? How is the whole family going to take it? Right? And that itself is something which bothers him. when a Yid reflects that every Yid is part of the entire Jewish nation. And the entire Jewish nation is interested to see to it that he goes in the right direction, that he has the strength to follow through and go through his challenges and be successful. It's something which is supported, which is of interest of the entire Jewish nation. So when he is faced with a challenge, he is faced with what's called a nisoyon, with a test, what we call, with a situation where he is drawn to something negative, or he feels depressed or anything like that. If he recognizes that he is a member of the whole Jewish nation, and that everybody in the Jewish nation is concerned about him, knowing or unknowingly, is concerned about him, and is affected by him. If a Yid falls down, the whole nation suffers. If a Yid goes up, the whole nation lifts up. This is a real source of strength. I was talking the other day to a Baal Tshuva, and it happened to be a girl, but it makes no difference. And she related to me a very, very traumatic, an episode that hurt her a lot. Nothing very serious, but something that hurt her a lot. How she wasn't able to stand up on her feet and go away from the situation. And I explained to her, you have to understand that all your friends and the whole Jewish nation, they love you. They're all concerned about you. When you are in this situation, all the people of the whole Jewish nation is standing there and trying to pull you away from you. So you on yourself, on your own cannot, but everyone else is trying to pull you away. You have to remember that the whole nation is with you and trying to pull you away from there. Every Jewish neshama, every Yid is pulling you away from where you shouldn't be and pulling you where you should be. This is a real source of strength. This is the meaning of the unity of the Jewish nation. The Rebbe, during the time of the Soviet Union, when it was very, very bad, in the 70s, it was a very, very difficult period in Russia. And then the Rebbe urged, every time that a Yid here learns and davens extra and gives tzedakah, does any mitzvah, this strengthens the Yidden over there. They don't know anything about it, but it gives them strength to carry through their burden. So here, every one of us here, everyone comes from a different background. We all know, the what I call the empty, destroyed world that we are coming from, a meaningless world that we're coming from. And everyone is in essence, like one unit picked from a whole destruction, from a whole disintegration. And as a result of that, everyone feels that they're on their own. They have to make it on their own. So yes, you have to put everything you got. You have to use your time and your koiches and put everything you have into success, into learning and davening and building yourself up and growing up the way you should. But you also have to know that everyone here and every Yid in the whole world is standing there and praying for your success. You're not alone. You're not representing yourself. This is a reality. This is for real. There were instances where one child was picked from, let's say, from Brazil, from South America, from a whole country, and he was sent to the yeshiva. And this one child was sent to the yeshiva, and then 10 years later he became a man. It only takes 10 years from a child to becoming a man. And when he became a man, he was already a sense of responsibility. He went back to his town where he was, and he built up the whole town. He woke up and built up the whole town. So the whole town was sitting there for 10 years praying that this little boy should be successful. So that he should come and he should help us out. He should pick us up. Everyone, you have to understand, yes indeed, we have a very limited opportunity here. Very limited. A year, 2 years is a lot, 3 years is a God-given. Regardless, that itself is really unique if you consider yourself in comparison to all those thousands who don't have even 1 day of exposure of living in a yeshiva, who don't know what it means to live in a situation of a holy or pure situation. Well, all you're thinking about is, what is the meaning of a mitzvah? What do you mean by a mitzvah? The Rebbe once said in the Fabrengen that a Russian boy came over, and this was the time when the radio started coming over. He came over from Russia, and they were talking over there, and somebody said to him, "I want to teach you Torah." So he said, "Shtot hakoya Torah." What's Shtot hakoya Torah? What kind of thing is this Torah? He didn't know the first, he never heard the word. Never heard it. What kind of thing is it? You know, where did it grow out from? The people who are here, as limited as your exposure, as limited as your privilege is, you have to understand, you are 1,000% ahead of those who have never had it, who don't know anything about it. Everyone, the Hashgacha Pratis, this is divine providence. Everyone has come at the time when he came. And everyone is, with Hashem's help, will be given the bracha that he should be successful in doing what he can, in acquiring the knowledge, acquiring the inspiration, the insight, the understanding that he is able to get. But he has to understand, he is representative of thousands and tens of thousands of other youth. And they're all sitting there and hoping that he will be successful so that he will also help them, pull them also up. There's a story the story is of Reb Chaim Brisker. I don't know if you heard of Reb Chaim Brisker. Reb Chaim Brisker was a Misnagdesher Gadol. Misnagdesher, great, but he was not antagonistic to Chassidim. He was a very great friend of the Rebbe Rashab. He was a very Chaim Soloveitchik. He was the grandfather of the Soloveitchiks. Huh? He was a Misnagid, right? But he was very close to the Rebbe. You don't think he was a Misnagid, but he was a Chassid.
I never heard Misnagid friend with the Rebbe.
Oh yeah, no. You're making a mistake. Since after the Tzemach Tzedek, there were many great Misnagdim that were very friendly with the Rebbe. Very. The Machlokes with the Misnagdim Chassidim ended way before, by the Mitzvah Rebbe's time. After that, there wasn't. This is new stuff that's coming up now. When we were traveling from, when I was traveling to Europe and all that, we had Misnagdim, the greatest friends. They came to Fabrengens, and there was a Yid. They were traveling. They were in Poking. It was in Germany. In one of the DP camps that we traveled to was in Germany. It was a very large group of people there. So one time, Reb Nissen Nemanov, I don't know if you heard of him. He was a big mashpia, Reb Nissen. He was in France, Brunois. So B'nissen Nemer said a Baoimer. So there was this Ingeman, it was not this Ingeman, who stood at his side, and he listened to the Baoimer. He was a very gifted man with rhymes. So after Rabbi Nissen finished the Baoimer, he got up and he repeated the whole Baoimer with rhyme.
What's
Rhyme, a gram, in poetic form. You know what rhyme? Huh? I'm sorry.
Cat jumped over the hat.
Right. Right.
okay.
Okay.
The
Right.
מתנגד did? He said the מתנגד did it?
Yeah, he was not a chassid.
And he did it like
Yeah. Anyway, so Reb Chaim Brisker, he was at the end, when he was older, he was already weak, and it was very difficult for him to give his shir. He gave a shir every week, whatever it is, he gave a big shir for a lot of people. A shir means a lesson in Gemara. So his friends came to him and they said that since it's so difficult for him, maybe he should cut down a little. He was so old. So he said, you should know that the entire Jewish people is like a pyramid. What a pyramid is? A pyramid is built like this. So there is a brick on top, 2 bricks below, 3, 4, and it extends out. Huh? Like a like a temple.
Pyramid.
A pyramid. Yeah, a pyramid. Yeah. So the Gashmi is in the physical pyramid. The base is on the bottom, and from this base you build up higher. The spiritual pyramid, the Jewish pyramid, is the opposite. The base is on top, and the top is what's holding down the bottom. So he says, this pyramid, he says, there are those Eden who are Shomer Torah mitzvah, who learn Torah and know about mitzvahs. They are on the top, they're holding up the entire Jewish people. Below them, there are those who know of Torah mitzvahs, and they compromise sometimes, they fall off, they're not so strong with it. Below them, there are those who are once a year Yidden, Rosh Hashanah Kippur. Those who have, kosher in the house and they eat out in the restaurant on the free. Then below them, there are those who identify themselves as Jews. Below them, there are those who remember that, I think I have an ancestry in Jewish, and so forth, and goes down and so forth. He says, all the way down, he says, there is Rothschild. Rothschild was a very wealthy family in Europe, the Rothschilds. It went on for a very long time, this family, like a century and a half, and developed into a very wealthy family, and as they went on, became very assimilated. And many of them completely lost contact with the Jewish people. So he says, Rothschild in Paris is on the brink. He is held up on a string. He says on a hairbreadth. That he shouldn't convert to become a goy and forget, break his relationship with the Jewish people is a hairbreadth. He says, to assure that Rothschild does not convert, I have to say my shir. Huh?
I have to say what?
My shir. I have to say my lesson. Because if I don't give my lesson, so then everything goes down the wrong. I do a little bit less. Those who are further down do a little bit less, until all the way down, it'll end up that Rothschild is going to convert to completely sever his relationship to the Jewish people. To assure that Rothschild doesn't break away from the Jewish people, I have to continue to say my shir. You have to understand, this is a pyramid. And you who are privileged to come to yeshiva, to come to what is a holy yeshiva, a yeshiva that has an emphasis on Torah and Chassidus, on Hidur Mitzvah, this puts you up on a very high level in this pyramid of the Jewish people. We have no idea, the Rebbe once said, we have no idea the effect that a bocher, a yeshiva bocher, like any one of you, has on walking down the street someplace in Honolulu. Nobody knows you. But you walk down the street, and who knows what kind of memories that evokes by the people who see him. Who knows what type of feeling that evokes, what it means. I mean, right now we have stories galore. We have thousands of stories of Yidden coming back to Yiddishkeit, relating back to Yiddishkeit just from this kind of encounter. So we have to understand, every Yid in the whole world, the whole Jewish people, are your support. They're waiting for your success. They're praying for your success. This is why you're successful. You think that it's your work, but there is a whole pyramid behind you. And this is what the Rashbi said. When the Yidden sit together, and all the Yidden get together, and they focus in that they want, like the Rebbe says, we want Mashiach now, the power behind that is immeasurable. It's immeasurable. Because Yidden have the power to support the whole world and support each other. When you get up in the morning and we feel a little bit down, oh, I didn't have such a good night. One wakes up on the left side, so to speak. He's a little bit in a bad mood. So we always speak about Moidani, and so we have to remember, who are you? And who are you representing? Who is standing behind you and saying, please, wake up, go and do your thing, so that I will not drown in dust. I will not drown in dirt. So that I will also breathe a little bit clean air. So that you learn one more line, when you come back home, you will have one more line to teach. You'll have more what to give. Because every one of you is going to be a mashpia. Now you are a makabel, you receive. Every one of you is ultimately going to be a teacher to someone else. No question about it. And those who are waiting for your hashpah are praying for you that you should be successful. You have to be truthful, dedicated, honest, but full with confidence and with simcha to do your thing. With Hashem's help, for sure you'll be successful. Never if you let yourself down, you're letting the whole Jewish nation down. That's what it is. The whole Jewish nation depends on you, depends on everyone. What is the percent of the Jewish nation? Even though Baruch Hashem we have yeshivas and all that, still coming down to it, what is the percent of Jews that have exposure, yeshiva exposure? It's minuscule. With all the great development and success that we have today. I speak to him, I have a son in California. He is down south in California, he has a Chabad house. He tells me, Tati, he says, see all these people that I have here. I was there once time. There's not one that is not intermarried. Not one that both the husband and wife are both Jewish.
all of them married?
Only thing. I mean, in that group. In California. It's not one, he says, that not intermarried. And from that, what I deal with a lot, he says, this boy comes and he's going out with this Goyish girl, and I have to turn myself inside out, my kishkis out, to try to stop him. This is a big activity that I have. That's the world. That's a Jewish world. Who is going to lift them up? Who is going to give these Jews a sense? You're Jewish. Where are you going? How do you belong over there? Who are you relating to? They don't even have a sense. What's the difference? They're so dry, so insensitive, never. Not by their fault, but they're insensitive. They don't know the difference. What's the difference? So we have to understand, you have enormous blessing, enormous strength behind you. And this, the situation of being the atzvus, of being down, doesn't belong here at all. You're the privileged few. You're the select. Hashgacha Pratis, you were selected. Why? That's how the Rebbe saw to it. You were giving a bracha that you should have it. The neighbors and say, you'll do your thing and bring more light to other, to the whole world. L'chaim, l'chaim. Like Baoimer has many things associated with Lag Baoimer. One thing is the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. I'm sure you know the basic stories. Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, they died the whole period of Sfira, and like Baoimer, they stopped dying. But the central inyan of Lag Baoimer is the Rashbi. Shimon ben Yochai. Shimon ben Yochai said that Lag Baoimer is my personal Yom Tov. And he asked that everybody should rejoice on this Yom Tov. What was this great Yom Tov? Why was it a personal Yom Tov from the Rashbi? What happened in Lag Baoimer for Rashbi?
Passed away.
He passed away. It's Yom Hilula, he called it. He passed away. And we called it a big Yom Tov. This is very unusual. The day of passing is a day of mourning. It's a sad day. It's not a holiday. It's not a day of rejoicing. It's true, a tzaddik has an aliyah, goes higher and higher, but still the day of passing is still not a day of rejoicing. And the Rashbi said, my day of rejoicing is Lag Baomer. It would seem, at first glance, if you don't reflect on it, you don't understand who Rashbi is, you would say, he was a sad man. He was a depressed man. He didn't like it over here. He wanted to get rid of everything. And now he is freed. He's celebrating his freedom from the burdens of this world. But the Rashbi was by far not this. The Gemara tells us that when the Rashbi came out from the cave together with his son Rabbi Eliezer, you know the story, that he was hiding in the cave for 13 years. Then they came out. During these 13 years, they were engaged in learning. This is when they're learning the Zohar and all that. In Pnimis HaTorah, the highest and deepest in Yom. When they came out of the cave, so they saw people engaged, involved in mundane, simple, so to speak, quote unquote, insignificant activities. They couldn't relate to it. What are you doing? What are you wasting your time for? So the Gemara says that Rabbi Eliezer, as a matter of fact, when you looked at something and he saw how lowly the world is, how far from Ruchnis, how far from the Madrege that he was on, it was actually destroyed. He would burn it up. He would destroy it. And then it says that every place that Rabbi Eliezer destroyed, the Rashbi would cure, would reconstruct, would restore. So the Rashbi wasn't angry at this world. On the contrary, he would restore. Rabbi Eliezer couldn't tolerate it. He was not on the same level as the Rashbi. But the Rashbi saw the true value of it, and he would restore. He was able to cure it. And Mara tells other stories when Rashbi came to a town, and the first thing he came to a town, he was immediately asking what's going on. Is there anything that needs to be corrected? Anything that needs to be fixed? On the contrary, he was a builder of the world. He was not a destroyer of the world. He was a builder of the world. And yet, he said that Lag Baomer, the day of his passing, This is his personal holiday. And he asked everybody not to be sad, on the contrary, to celebrate. It really boggles the mind. So clearly, you're talking about a very unique individual. An individual by whom the world itself represented the godly presence. As he says over there, that I'm bound up with Hashem in one knot. By him there is no difference between himself and Hashem. And therefore being in this world, in this physical world, was no different. He was in this physical world the same as he will be in the higher world. And therefore, this was not a sad day, because all he saw is that he's becoming even closer to Hashem. That's all he saw. This is clearly a unique situation. Even in the highest and the greatest Jewish history, this is unique. The only one that said anything like this was the Rashbi. But at the same time, like the Rebbe always says, that anything that was taught, that we were told about in Torah, has something that has to do, there's some message, some teaching for us. This is nothing, not that we have a shaykhs, we have a connection to this type of madrege, to the Rashbi in his madrege. But it was taught to us. That means that it has some teaching for us. It has something pertinent that would be meaningful to us also. And what is it? The principle is that even though we are in a physical world and we are constantly challenged by the physical world, we are challenged to see through it and see the truth, because the physical world hides the truth, does not let us see the truth at every step of the way, and it distracts us and it draws us in all kinds of different directions. We have to understand at the same time that this physical world that we live in, with us, along with us, along with our challenges, along with our avodah, along with our difficulties, Hashem is with us wherever we are. We are not just sent off on a journey, go and find your way around. The Rashbi, by him, there was no difference. He lived with Hashem through and through in every aspect. We are not in that madrega. Not at all. But that's only because we don't recognize it. We cannot recognize, we cannot live up to it. But we have to know the truth. We have to understand the truth. Just as we spoke before, that the entire Jewish people is praying for everyone individually here. Hashem is with every Yid. What does it say? We say in davening, Shabbos, Baoimer Risheni. Baoimer Risheni wakes up the sleeping. Make it nirdom. He arouses the slumbering, those who are slumbering off. Tzoymech Neuflim, he supports those who are falling. Matir Asurim, he releases those who are bound, who are imprisoned. All of these things are pertinent. These are not allegorical things. These are things that everyone has a personal stake in it. Everyone has a personal experience with. Anytime, even in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says that when a person comes to a point where he feels he cannot break through, he is dried up, he cannot break through, he cannot get to understand this, he cannot get into whatever he needs to get into, davening or learning. He is too dry. So he says, at that time, he says, is a time when he should humble himself in front of Hashem and ask Hashem to help him. And Hashem will surely help him. That's what it says in Tanya. Huh? Timtum Alev. This is the powerful lesson from the Rashbi. The Rashbi lived with this, with Hashem's presence in the world. We know that this is true. As a matter of fact, everyone here, if they make a cheshbon, if they think back of what was the path? How does it happen that from all my friends, all my acquaintances, and all the people that were lost in the same forest that I was, somehow I found my way out, and they are still groping in the dark. You will see that there was clearly Hashgacha Pratis. There was something leading him, connecting to him. This is the principle that Rashbi said, Shevas Achim Gam Yochad. Actually, Achim, it says that Achim does not only mean Achim, brothers, Yidden, one Yidden with another, but Yidden are called Hashem's Achim. Achim V'rei, my friends and brothers. It says in Chassidus explains that when we make a bracha on the Torah, it says, and learn Torah, before you learn Torah, you have to make a bichas HaTorah. And what is the bichas HaTorah? It ends up with Noisen HaTorah. Noisen HaTorah, one who gives the Torah. And what does this mean? He is giving the Torah. He already gave the Torah 3,000 years ago. It means that he is now, every day, he is constantly giving the Torah. What it actually means, even more directly, it means, as the Gemara says, Kol HaKoira V'Shoina HaKadosh Baruch Hu Koira V'Shoina Knegdei. That when he sits and learns, he says Koira, he says Chumash, he learns Psukim. Shoina, he learns Mishnah. Hashem sits and learns the same thing. He's his Chaver, Knegdei, like face to face. A Yid sits and learns, Hashem sits and learns with him. A Yid is never alone.
Good chavruta.
He's a good chavruta, right? He's never alone. This principle, that a Yid is never alone, is really the most important principle that we have to remember. This counters, this completely negates, not negates, it destroys the whole philosophy, the whole secular and worldly philosophy. In the world, everybody is alone. Everybody is for himself. A world to himself. And in Torah, in Yiddishkeit, nobody is alone. Everybody is together. And again, together, not just for personal benefit, but together to build the real world, to build Hashem's world. In this environment here, I think I spoke about this one time before. In this environment here, it is important that each one of us recognize that we are here together in it. And if we see something with which we can help somebody else, we have to understand that this becomes an obligation on us to help. It's not a good deed, it's obligatory. It's obligatory. This is our shlichus in this particular moment. This is the message of the Rashbi. Every time by the Baoimer parades, the one theme that the Rebbe always emphasized was the inyan of Ahavas Yisrael. Because the Rashbi personified this inyan. And since it's like Baoimer, so we can draw from, like the Rebbe always says, that from each day, from a day of like Baoimer, we can draw strength and encouragement and inspiration for that particular inyan of the inyan of like Baoimer. There are, even in this small group, there are actually several groups. Those who have one background, another background, one viewpoint, another viewpoint. But we have to also understand that we have to understand each other. We have to integrate. We have to integrate. We cannot be separate. It doesn't work. That's not what this is about. The one thing that we're all here for is to learn Torah. And Torah doesn't allow for this type of break of groupings. The same Torah that we learn, the same Torah is learned in Russia, the same Torah is learned in Morocco, the same Torah is learned in Tunisia, in Israel. It's all the same Torah. And we have to relate to one another on that basis. The more we break down, the more we eliminate differences in our separation, the more we will be able to appreciate and understand what it is that we're learning here. What is the principle of Torah that we learn? The Gemara says, there's a posuk, Cherev al habadim. Cherev means sword, al habadim. He says, who is the Badim? The Badim here is Talmidei Chachomim, who sit and learn by themselves. Bad bavad. Talmidei Chachomim. They're learning Torah. But if they cannot join in with others, then there is some deficiency in their Torah. There is something that they are missing. Because Torah is supposed to break down separate differences between you, not create differences. So we have to really make an effort to understand each other, and we have to know that it's obligatory, each one of us, to help the other in what we can, and we have to not allow to create different groups. It's amazing that in a small crowd like this, there could already be different crowds. It's not allowed. It's not that in that aspect, it's not a Torah spirit. Even though there may be a language difference, or maybe a background difference, but ultimately we are all learning the same Torah. And we're all doing the same mitzvahs. This is the principal teaching, the principal inspiration that comes from Baoimer, from the Rashbi. And here, by us, we have to understand that the basis for success, the source of success, is the blessing that we get. And the blessing comes by our unity. The blessing comes by getting into the real spirit and the real core of what the Torah is. So, l'chaim.
I want to ask you, if somebody lost money, you lost money? Yes. Okay. Huh? Thank you. The client, where did you lose it?
How much?
I didn't know. How much is it?
Right now. Higher.
I find money.
Higher. You don't have to do it right now.
No? Okay. Thank you.
Hine matoivu manoyin sheves achim gam yochad. Hine matoivu manoyin sheves achim gam yochad. V'zachim gam yochad, hinei matoi v'manoyim shev'zachim gam yochad. Gam yochad, hinei matoi makis l'domim. You have to. Meir Rishenim or makis l'domim? What do we need over here? Go ahead. Umanoyim shevesakim gam yona yararara yararara ya 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 la 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 All right, my time is up. I just want to wish you all Hatzlacha, draw the inspiration from the koiches from Baoimer, and the koiches that you have, whatever you're given here from Torah and Chassidus, and all the inyonim, you should take it in, internalize it. That becomes your strength. That becomes your neshama. Then in Mitzvah Hashem, this will keep you alive, carry you through your life, and help you and help you fulfill your shlichus in the world.
Amen.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh?
What do you think?